Under what the YFPO is about. It's young financial planners that are really looking to inspire a change in the financial planning industry. We're trying to inspire young ones to join the industry, and more importantly, if you're building a business and a practice, we want to try and get some stories from other financial planners around what they're doing in their businesses. Perhaps you could think about introducing it into your business and your practice. I'd like to introduce Hendri de Klerk from Ultima Financial Planners. Hendri is a financial planner within the business and a director. And I'd like to, first of all, just say thank you, Hendri. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you making this time.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me, Luke. Looking forward to sharing some of our ideas and stories to the group.
Thanks, Hendri. So you represent Ultima Financial Planners. Just tell me a little bit about your journey into financial planning.
Yes, yeah. So my journey is also quite interesting. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I did my articles in Johannesburg at Ernst & Young, and then I ventured into music business for about 7 years. I was the financial head of finance, CFO of Warner Music International. The operation of that global company in South Africa, which was also connected to Gallo Africa. And it was about 7 years, which was an interesting 7 years, but obviously the music scene changed quite a lot from transitioning from CDs to digital. A lot of challenges financially, but a lot of exciting things that we dealt with and how to really think new and think fresh about that business. But that journey came to an end, and I sort of was looking out for something new, and then an opportunity came up at Ultima, where one of the other directors decided to go on his own, and he was also related to another staff member, so it was quite a big hit in the business. And at that point, I received that opportunity because my in-laws are actually Gerrit and Regina Viljoen, who's the founders of the business. So they lured me sort of in a way into the business, sneakily, but I'm very glad for that. And slowly but surely, I started to just learn about financial planning, and that's now eight and a bit years ago. And I did my CFP qualification also in that next few years, and started engaging with clients and helping clients with financial planning. And yeah, it just grew from strength to strength. Really, looking back, it's something that happened, one can almost say randomly or by the grace of God, I'd like to say, but it was so meant to be in a certain sense, I think. And I'm so glad for that opportunity and for being part of the business, which is a unique business, exciting business. We're in really focusing on the planning side for clients. So just one last thing about the music. My main objective with the music was that I was a struggling musician myself at some point, and I have a lot of musician friends, and I wanted to sort of move into that business to make a difference in people's lives, to create something that can help these group of musicians. Now, over time, I also started a label, and I were able to help some of them, but things changed in the industry. And then with financial planning, I mean, obviously you get the opportunity to really have a big impact in people's lives. Where it's not music now, it's really in a financial sense, and helping people planning financially and making a difference in that way. And that sort of was a big connection for me, where in the past, I felt when I studied, I felt like I wanted to make a difference in that industry. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. But what I did not realize is that through financial planning, I can even make a greater difference in people's lives. And that's just been an amazing journey for me.
Okay, that's brilliant. So maybe let's get a little bit of a sense of that. How did you deal with change? Because I think that as a CA, financial director, there's a certain degree of security. People will say, okay, that's a great career. Now, moving to financial planners, there's always that misconception, you can be selling policies. How did you deal with that change and that perception out there in the market around, okay, you're moving from something that might be relatively professional to giving advice, financial advice or broking or selling policies. So how did you deal with that amongst your friends and your family?
Yeah, there's always that misconception with financial planning. It is definitely a term that's been abused and not really understood that well. I think from the moment where I understood it, I was able to communicate it quite well through to my family and people around me, and even my friends. And we use the analogy of an architect in our business, in the process of building a house. So when you build a house, it's mandatory that you have to engage with the architect and someone that's going to draw up the plans and put together everything. Now we look at legislation, then there's certain things that has to be in a certain way. There's practical things, and then there's just we've learned over the years how things work the best. So if you look at those three areas and you combine them, and then you have a solid building plan sort of that's put together, and the client is in a way forced to deal with that in the building setup. And the architect is central in getting that plan into place. But the architect is not necessarily the one that is implementing everything. The architect then works with a quantity surveyor and a builder and a landscape architect and all kinds of different individuals. And as soon as you understand that, then you understand the role that we actually are supposed to play in financial planning, and that is to be that architect that holds things together. I'm not saying that you can't then fulfill certain of the implementation side of things, but I think for me, when I made that head shift, it was easy to communicate that through. But I mean, we spend hours and hours telling our clients that this is what we do. Yet when we sit with a client and his phone rings and he answers, he will answer like, I'm just with my broker, I'm just finishing up, I'm coming now, and that's just how deep those I think the incorrect or the false perception around financial planning is, and how deep it is, and even that means that our job is so much greater to make a change in that area.
So you, I'm pretty sure the average person really quite okay to get advice from somebody who's a CA, but yet you took the step a little bit further by pursuing the CFP mark. Just tell me a little bit about, what drew your interest to wanting to do that particular qualification, and what was the learning curve between the two that you actually thought, okay, this is very different from the world that I come from?
Well, firstly, it is a prerequisite for our financial planners at Ultima to have the CFP designation. But on top of that, I've always felt that if I operate in a certain space, then I need to be qualified. I need to know what I'm doing. And I think when I did my research and I had a look at the postgraduate diploma in financial planning course and also what it is all about and the detail, then I realized that this is really going to be beneficial for me to create the foundation on which financial planning is based. So I really felt that for me, if I really want to spend a lot of time in front of clients, I need to have those foundations in place. Even though I did the CA about 12, 13 years before I did my CFP. And remember, CA is focused around auditing, your accounting, management accounting systems, and taxation is much more focused on the company and entities as such, where we are now much more focused on the individual. I think we did in tax one way back in varsity, we looked at individuals and how tax calc is done, etc. Which that is much more what we are working with now at the moment. So just to to sort of brush up on those things. I know we do those through CPDs on an annual basis, but I felt it was I needed to do that just to sort of be on top of my game, to be qualified enough to be legit. I mean, it's one thing you can now say you're a CA and you can say, oh, you've got this knowledge or whatever, and you can probably work around that but that's not the way I work. I really believe that I need to be upskilled. I need to know what I'm talking about. And investment planning, retirement planning, even the business assurance side is topics and things we've never looked at or dealt with and before. So, and I also believe that the CE Certified Financial Planning designation and qualification sets apart financial planners in South Africa, in the sense that you have done that. There are too many people, I believe, that selling policies that just did not make it in another industry, and now they're just doing it by default because that's the next thing to move to. So that really that gives legitimacy to our profession. And I hope and I trust, I know that FPI is busy trying to further secure the designation of a financial planner and being a financial planner. And I hope that happens sooner than later with Kofi coming at some point, that will even more legitimize our role, what we do, so that consumers and the public can see and can differentiate basically between planners that are qualified and then brokers that sell policies, etc.
So I quite like that. I quite like the fact that your business and your practice values the CFP mark. And I think that as financial planners, if we don't see value in it, we can't expect clients to see value in what we do and how we are professional, how our profession is set aside from any other profession out there. And I quite like that your business and your practice and your own worldviews to say, okay, we are a professional business. Everybody in our business will pursue a professional mark so we can give high quality professional advice. So let's talk a little bit about your business and the practice that you're in at the moment. So maybe as a first question, what makes the business that you're in unique versus any other independent financial planning practice out there?
Look, the first thing is we charge a financial planning fee to do a financial plan. So the entry point for a client into the business is to pay a fee upfront for the plan. We've done our calculations and we've worked out, at what point it works for everyone. So there's a fee that a client will pay. You can't just, we're not just going to implement. We want to emphasize that we need to be able to put that blueprint down. That architect that draws up the plans for the house needs to be in place before we start the journey. And that's a consistent thing that is applied throughout, without exception. And we value that as really a good way of kickstarting the financial planning journey. I think that still is unique. I'm surprised that it is still unique because it has been around for some time. But that's the way we do it. We don't just focus on risk planning. If someone comes and says, I need a risk policy, we will refer those individuals. We say we want to look at the holistic picture. We want to do full on planning, and then we'll continue from there to see what is necessary to implement. What's also unique from our business is that we have a focus on Christian values. We share those values every morning. At 8:30 we have a check-in, which is like a devotion, you could say, where we spend time together and talking about Christian values, about the Bible, about what we see. We look at videos together, so that's important for us as a culture and also unique in a certain sense. And then lastly, like I said, also it is a family business mostly, which we are trying to grow out and then grow further also going forward. I think those are the unique things. If I think about it, we are fully independent, so we are not governed or dictated by any service provider. We And that's great. And I think we innovative as well in that sense, is that we really seek out the best possible solutions. We know that South Africans, for instance, really like property. We really believe, inherently we believe property is a good investment, even though it's not a good investment in South Africa at the moment. So we have found solutions globally where our South Africans can invest into property solutions, into the right sectors, in the right industries that make sense, which can sort of tickle that itch that we have in terms of the property sense. So I guess that's also sort of a unique thing that we offer in the basket of everything else in Luca.
Okay, so I'd like to double click a little bit on your value set as a business, because I know via the grapevine that is brought through to the way you guys distribute profits and how you give back, and not just taking and for yourselves as much as you can. Just tell me a little bit about what that looks like and how that plays out in your business.
Yeah, so yeah, we do want to give back in the community. We have the vision of an aqueduct, which is an old historic Roman piece of infrastructure that was used to transport water from one place to another, and then to bring water, life, all the things associated with it. And that's what we have really as a central vision of ours. So we do contribute a lot in our community, not only physically pro bono wise, but financially as well, which is a big value for us to be able to do that. And we're talking about large amount of money that we do contribute towards, especially in the education space, which we feel in South Africa is a place where you can really make a difference from a ground level up. And we know the need in South Africa, where the schooling systems are really not great. It's not consistent. If you look at Pretoria here, where we are based, in excellent primary schools in the city region as opposed to in the rural regions, there's a big discrepancy. And we want to see, where we can make a difference and influence that, and that there we will also then help and contribute. And we all have various projects on the go. We also have a big community project with Impact Radio in our area called Flow. That's Faith and Leadership Over Wealth, which we host an annual conference, as well as throughout. We do a weekly program on Impact Radio where we inspire and equip individuals. We aim to do that. Well, I won't say we do it. We aim to inspire and we equip individuals with regards to biblical principles on finances, which is actually very close to what we're reading in the handbooks when it comes to the basics of financial planning. If you look at your basic financial planning principles, then they are very much close together, and we advocate for that, and we try to help people to get that right. So that's in that space where we want to function. We want to really make a difference, spend our effort and time and our giving to those areas and make a difference. And we've seen results. We've seen when we do these conferences and we advertise it on Impact Radio, then there is hundreds of people pitching just hunger and eager to learn and to understand more. So even in this year, we thought that we would maybe do a bi-monthly or every second month. We will do more contact sessions with some of these guys to just have more time available to share some of these concepts and to be able to make a difference. We also support the FPI My Money program. When it was still a physical program, we were involved quite a lot. And I was so bummed, because just before COVID, I was busy with the police here in Pretoria. I had a contact high up in the police, and I went to see it was a deputy local commissioner. I'm not sure exactly what his title was, but I showed him the material. We were actually ready to go and to to have sessions with the leadership in the police with my money, 1, 2, 3, and then COVID happened, and that individual passed away in that time. So the doors are closed a bit there, but yeah, I mean, to that level, when we see an opportunity, we'd love to make a difference in that area.
Yeah, and I think for myself, that's quite unique, in that your focus isn't primarily on profits, but you have a broader community view you have on helping others really to a certain extent, even around your value sets around education. And for me, that's quite important and unique. So let's just say, Henry, I'm a financial planner listening to you. I want to start my own independent business and practice. But in essence, the product world or advice world is so complicated. Who do I approve as a product on, and who do I give advice to, and who do I give access to? So tell me a little bit about how your advice process goes in terms of selecting, platforms and services, and how you guys put that together.
Look, we have an investment committee which will come up with recommendations in terms of what makes sense. And then we have a house view on specific investment criteria, and how we see what our criteria is. And then we prefer, in the general sense, to work with discretionary fund managers. As I said, we are the architect. We don't want to be necessarily the builder as well. We want to engage with asset management teams that are really good at doing what they do, and that's managing assets. So I guess my input would be to put a philosophy together with what you feel comfortable with. If you feel that you want to be the architect and the builder, and you have the time and capacity to do that, then you can select funds, you can rebalance those funds, and you can probably share in a bit more of the fee income. But we've specifically sort of put that philosophy down, that we want to just focus more on the planning side, venturing into coaching these days and those type of things, spending time with clients, and then doing the necessary intermediary work from there. So yeah, so to summarize, we have a committee that engages and that comes up with suggestions. That's then presented to the board of our company. And then we have a monthly planner meeting, which happens every month, every third Friday of the month in the afternoon. We have a planner meeting where all the planners sits together, and everything new and all the questions with regards to advice and direction and so forth is communicated and shared to align everyone just on the same page, because it also doesn't make sense that we say our philosophy is this, but every planner just does their own thing at the end of the day. But yeah, I think it's really hard for someone to start afresh and just start new. But if I have to give a few pointers, then it would be just come up with a philosophy and put together a way of determining how you want to function and operate. I realize an individual starting out can't just start out as fully independent necessarily. It's possible probably, but maybe it's not. So there's more barriers, and it's more trickier to talk from where I'm sitting at the moment than starting afresh. But if you can sit it out and you can work on the fee-based model where you earn your fees on asset under management, and you can sit through that first year or 2 or 3, then I believe you really going to put yourself up for success and put yourself in a situation where you can be very successful, and also not reliant on selling all the time, because then you've transitioned from selling stuff to providing a service. That's, I think, key for you to do. So I've mentioned a lot of things, Luke. I don't know if you want to zoom into something, but yeah, it was a bit like a gunshot, but yeah, so that's more or less how our advice, the process and systems are put together.
But I quite like that, because I think that as somebody starting out, it just gives an idea around, I need to have a process in place. And I need to be involved in designing that process, and I need to follow that process through and apply it equitably across whoever I'm going to be working with. So you might start off small, but I think having a process in place will help you deal with the complexity of our industry, to make it simple for yourself, because I think in that way you can translate it in a way that's palatable for the average man or the client, in essence, that you're working with. So I want to ask you a little bit about, again, I've worked with your business in my other job, in my day job. I've worked with your business for a couple of years. And over these couple of years, I've seen that you've introduced some new personnel, some new people into your business. And some of these people look like a little bit like me, and that's been quite an interesting step. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically what we did was, in our business, is we realized that and we did this through careful analysis, is that our financial planners, they are now qualified and they're spending time in front of clients, but they're also spending a lot of time in front of their computers doing administrative type of tasks. And so we thought that, this doesn't work well. And then on the other side, we also struggled to bring in a junior planner and then take them through the process, because we were expecting at that point that a junior planner will start, with clients already from the start. So we introduced the para planner designation or position, I think about 4 years ago. And we thought that, this is great. This gives an opportunity for young planners to learn, firstly. Secondly, you then engage with the actual planning, but just from preparing, preparation of that plan, putting the figures together, plugging the tools, and then also when we have had, as planners, we've had time with clients, then there's a lot of things that needs to be implemented and followed up. Advice agreements and records needs to be in place, and so forth. So the para planner function we've seen has been really helpful. We introduced that. And together with that, we've seen that, yes, we're going to actually need quite a group to work with 5 planners. We also need to look at transforming our business to look more, what South Africa is looking like. And from that sense, I think we intentionally focused on trying to employ people of a different color. We've even in the areas in our business where we've really focused on that to also get that representation. I think it's twofold. It's one is out of duty. There's a bit of duty involved. We realize that the legislation is changing and they are bringing in more of the BEE, the BEE factor more into COFI, as I understand, going forward. And you want to also, transform. You want to give people an opportunity, together with our city transformation and country transformation vision. We feel that we want to also be the difference there. But I think on the second level, which is also important, is that strategically, you need to look at the representation in South Africa, and the market is changing. So we also want to position ourselves in a place where we have qualified, fantastic planners of another color that can talk different languages, that can also then work with the clients. That is the vast majority in South Africa. So I think it's from both levels that we're hoping. Now, most of the new guys are still in a para-planner phase, but I think we are not far away from a next transition where a para-planner can transition to a planner stage. And that's also, just to say that as a side note, it's not necessarily to say that a para-planner is a breeding ground for planners. We've established the para-planner role as a designation on itself. If you come in and you prefer and you love the numbers and you love the technical side and you can give guidance to a planner as well, then you can be a professional para-planner and stay a para-planner. If you want to transition and if you want to grow into a position where you will spend more time with clients, then that opportunity is also available, just as a side note. So yeah, so those are the two main reasons I think we felt we need to we need to be more representative of what our country looks like. I honestly believe that is the right way to go. Give more opportunity. I think we have quality individuals. We have fantastic people in our team at the moment, and so happy for everyone that has joined. Eager to learn, and and I think it's a great environment to learn. But yeah, I think it initially, yeah, in the business we had to make that call and we had to stick with it. We had to say, like, this is the way we're going. I think we also, as a business, transitioned where individuals that's been in the business for a while retired, and we had to get more youth in as a company. Our culture has changed dramatically. Our culture is really where I think before we started this process, there were concern, what's the culture going to be like, etc., just because of the unknown. Not to say that we are, preeminating or thinking that they're going to be in a certain way, but everyone's been pleasantly surprised as to how fantastic the culture is and how energized the office of the amount of energy I think that's been released in the office has been great, and it's more just because of age, not of color. But yeah, I think we've worked on that, and I think it's really something to be advised. I think there's opportunities. The FPI provides opportunities. There's other opportunities to get involved in programs where there's trainees that can become part of your office for a period, and those are the things I think we need to engage with. We definitely in for it. We want to grow more in that area. We want to even be more representative. I think our board of directors needs to be more representative. We're working towards that. I don't think it's a quick solution, but we're trusting that in the next 5 years we'll be able to see the impact of that as well.
Hendri, I think that's quite inspirational. I think if I have to hear what you said quite a bit, and I'd like to question a little bit into some of these elements. But I think it's inspirational in the sense that if I am a planner of brown descent, if that's the right way to say, trying to be politically correct, but quite often if I'm looking for work, and I'll go searching through different independent businesses and practices, quite often it's quite, should I say, a close-knit community, and what seems like there might not be access. So what you've done is that you've provided access for somebody who is looking for work, that actually one day I could possibly, if I have the right skills and qualifications, and if the opportunity arises, work for your business. And I quite like it. I think that's inspiring. But I'm pretty sure for some people that are listening to this or listening to what you're saying, there must be an innate fear. So let's just say, for example, I don't have this kind of diversity within my business. And in essence, it's a great fear, actually. Do I want to change? What will my clients say? Quite often, that's sort of the thoughts that might come into people's heads. What would you say to inspire a sort of traditional practice around this change? What are the kind of things would you say? Okay, this is the reason why you might be able to or think about taking this step.
Yeah, I think one needs to take that step of faith and just do it, go for it. As I said, even in our business, as a board of directors, we sat around the table and there were concerns like, we traditionally have a lot of Afrikaans clients. So how's that going to affect the Afrikaans clients? How's that? You can think about a lot of things, that creates fear, but we can't allow that fear dictates our thinking and our decision making, especially I think in this area. So I think one has to just take that step. And like I said, you can start with an intern, someone that's not going to necessarily cost you a lot of money, and test the water and see what the impact would be in your business. But I strongly believe that if we want to build a South Africa, going forward, that is non-racial and we cut those racial lines, then we need to be inclusive. We need to be able to see that and it can happen on merit. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen on merit. And there's really some good candidates out there that can really make a difference. And then, as I said earlier, also, you need to ask yourself, what is my client base looking like in 10 years time from now? So would it make sense to also, incorporate or have someone that can actually, because that's the thing. I think with clients sometimes, especially where, we see in the north and in Pretoria, a lot of people speak Afrikaans and they just want to speak Afrikaans. So it's impossible for me now to put someone that is not Afrikaans and that has English as a second language, to be a planner of that person. And then it goes the same with other languages, with Sotho, Zulu, etc. So I think it makes sense in that sense also to look in strategically in that direction. But I think, if we want to make it work in South Africa, we have to be inclusive and we have to have this vision of that we can make it work together. We have to give people a chance. We have to think about other things when we do this, because we are used, a lot of us previously advantaged individuals are used to, you employ someone and you know what, you don't really worry about where they stay or what the transport is like. Those days are gone, because we need to think about those people. A lot of individuals will start to work here and they don't have the backing or the support from their families. They are actually going to be the support of their families for the next few months, years, etc. So we should be able to then also find out, and see how we can help further to make that work in that sense. So yeah, I think you can say a lot of things, Luke. You can you can inspire, definitely. I think there's a lot of people that is just purely resistant to this and will stay resistant, and that's the way it is. Personally, this is not now Ultima, but personally, I think then, why don't you immigrate and go stay in another country? But I think if you want to make it work in South Africa in the future that lies ahead, then definitely I have no doubt that you have to have an inclusive mindset, and you have to give people a chance and think about all the things, how you can support, put the infrastructure in place to support to the next level. Because as I said, it's not just the support what we used to, some of us, but we need to think further. We saw that, I think it was in it was in the area where at some point we gave bursaries to students, and then we realized, you gave a bursary which covers study fees, but then the individual has nowhere to stay or doesn't have food. We need to think about those things as well then. So it becomes a bit more complex. It might be a bit more expensive, as I said, but it will pay off. I can give you the assurance of that if you really spend the time, and I'm not saying that you're just going to find excellent people. We're all human. You're going to have to dig, and you're going to have to filter, and you're going to have to do a lot of work in developing, etc. But it's going to pay off, and it has for us. I can honestly say that we really have quality individuals. We even in our admin team, we have individuals that there's so much potential, and that it's just great. I think there's something beautiful about diversity. I believe God has made us all unique, and created such diversity and creativity. And when that creativity comes together and really works together, then it's something beautiful. It's something unmatched, and that's what I believe.
So just lastly on this particular topic, so you guys employ guys that are going to, in essence, become CFPs or pursue the CFP marks but there's often that learning gap between somebody who has, I don't want to say book knowledge because maybe it's the wrong thing, but let's just say from a university structure type knowledge versus what you need them to do their job. So tell me a little bit about the challenges of getting people from where they are as a university student or new entrants to getting them to where you need them to be in order to operate and work within your business? What have been some of those challenges in getting them to get the right pace?
Yeah, I think there's an assessment of qualification, which is required by the FSCA, etc. So we'll have to do an assessment and see up to what level the individual is qualified. There's bridging learning opportunities through a Milpark or a academic institution that can help with that. But with regards to the practical elements, it's learning on the job. And I've seen that now. I've seen it many times now that you're actually going to only start really learning once you work with an actual situation, scenario, client instruction, client transaction, client bit of planning, and then the eyes goes up, and that it's that light bulb moment. So we have to, and that's what is great in the paraplanning world, in the paraplanning position that we've added as a business, is that our paraplanners can prepare and put together a plan, and we encourage them to look at that plan and then come up with suggestions, recommendations, what they see, what they doubt, what they are questioning, and then have that discussion with the planner. And then after the meeting also, then they will see, what has been spoken about, we do minutes of all our client meetings and send it out to a client with allocated tasks. And then the paraplanner can see, what has happened here in that instance. And then, here we're going to implement and see the whole picture, basically. So that exposure to actually what happens and in practice is really valuable. And then at that point, I think an individual realizes, oh, yes, this is what we are busy with, and this is what we are doing. This is the value that we're adding. This is our philosophy. This is, and that shapes an individual. And that takes a few months, that won't happen just in 1 month. I think at least 6 months before a new paraplanner in our business is reach that point where he fully understands what we are doing and what we are busy with. So practical exposure is the way to go, engaging with those things. And then also client interactions, we allow our paraplanners, we encourage our paraplanners to communicate to the client, to make sure to, follow up, to, do all of those things to ensure that, they also get that bit of experience at that stage. So I think we need to expose our people. We need to create opportunities for them to learn. And they also learn when they sit with a planner and see them in action. We also do that. Our paraplanner sits in some of the meetings and then learn from the planners.
Okay, so the last 2 questions from me before we wrap up. So I've dealt with university level students before, and we've worked with them in a planning environment. And quite often, one of the key gaps that I've seen is just personal skills and attributes that you learn over maybe a period of time. So as an example, to try and make this point, most university students will try and work towards 60%. That's the environment that they're used to. They learn the night before, they do things last minute. And in essence, in a work environment, working in your business, you don't need that kind of personal management or time management. You need them to work towards a schedule. It's those personal attributes and skills that might sometimes be a learning gap. So have you seen that with working with young financial planners? And if you have, what are some of the things that you've helped these guys with in terms of conversations and mentorship?
Yeah, we've definitely seen it. I think something as basic as drafting a proper email. We've seen that when a guy comes up fresh, and starts communicating with the client, and then you can quickly see, is this on the level or on the brand level that we have sort of set our values at. And there we have training sessions, we have training occasions. We like I say, basic things such as email, such as how do you communicate with the client, using your spell checker on your email, something basic just to make sure that it's up, because we've seen that the youth these days don't spell as well. Yeah, so those things really helps. I think, yeah, you pick up things, definitely. You pick up, once again, we're not all perfect. Everyone has developmental areas, and you cannot expect of an individual coming out of varsity to be perfect. So in that, to that extent, we utilize a program called Shadow Match. Shadow Match is a piece of software that tracks habits. So we use it actually pre-employment. We take people or candidates through the shadow match process to see how they align with the habits that our different teams in the company has. And then if that person joins eventually, then you can also pick up the developmental areas in habits, and those areas then you can do a development plan through shadow match, where there is coaching, there is consultation, there is, hammering in a certain area to help individuals to grow in that area, and to, especially to help them reach their goals and objectives. So it is with that, it's consultation also, it's talking and discussing these goals and objectives, knowing and being aware of what they are, what an individual's career path looks like, what they think it looks like, and how then you can assist with that. But if needs be, if and when things comes up, there's various ways, I think, to address them. I think the important thing is to address them, because we tend, these days, society is sort of okay just with the way things are. And in our business, we, even, as I said, something like an email, if I see that a paraplanner's email is not up to standard, then immediately I will find a way of helping, coaching and correcting and getting them up to speed, so that they can then, from there on, improve and go forward. When it's, depending on the issue, there's obviously a range of different things and issues that can come up. But with regards to, obviously, language, most of us English, even myself, English is my second language. So if needs be, then we send individuals to a course here presented by the Speakers Association, or similar associations, to help people speak. We've got a radio program, as I mentioned, so we want our people, or everyone, to be able to speak on the radio, to go through a course to help them, coaching in that area as well, to develop them in that area as well. So those are just a few examples, a few things that we could look at. Look, if there's something specific that you had in mind, then you can also mention that. I can address that, but that's what I'm thinking of now, as you were speaking.
Absolutely, I think you've answered it. You've hit the nail on the head, because I think quite often we think that people need to learn out of university. They just need to learn how to do their jobs. But certain things, they might be not know how to manage their time, or speak appropriately, or write appropriately. And sometimes those small skills make such a massive impact on how they can deliver on their job. And I think that as financial planners, we need to think about, if we're bringing people into our business, it's not just the technical skills and competencies we need to invest in. We also need to invest in the person, helping them to actually do a lot better, and to work a lot better, and to be more proficient in their job. I think, Hendri, I have to thank you for your time. I think the story of your business has been quite aspirational. I quite like the fact that your business places value on a paraplanner role and sees that as an appropriate role. I quite like the fact that from hearing your story, that there's a career progression. I might start out in just doing a paraplanner type role, but I could perhaps maybe move up, or stay as a paraplanner within your business, because that is a profession within your company. And I quite like it. That's inspirational. I quite like that you have a South Africa view, and not just a my people, or small, should I say, subsect of society view, but you have a holistic South Africa view. And I think that as financial planners, we need to be the ones to drive the conversation around how we invest into our own country, and how we need to invest into our own businesses. And I thank you, Henry, and I hope we'll have you again on this business on as a speaker for the YFPO. I would like to encourage everybody. This is the start of having these kind of conversation. Just to reiterate what the purpose of these conversations is to inspire financial planners. Hear other people's stories, and maybe there's something you can draw from somebody else's story and really make it your own. Because in essence, we have a practice that has a view on professionalizing the industry and has a view on actually giving back broader than just making profits for the business. If you want to be a part of the YFPO, I encourage you to please go on to the community sites or go onto the websites and follow and join the YFPO. We are on social media, all but Twitter. So we have a YouTube. You'll be able to find us on LinkedIn on the professional ones. And so we encourage you to please follow the YFPO, and we'll have more of these conversations. Thanks again, Henry, and we hope to have you again on the program in future.
Thank you.